Okay, here I'm going to bring a model has been prepared in order to explain what are the features of the cash flow and how important and how much robust have to be a cash flow in order to take decisions. So we bring here a model. There is different ways to create an economic model in Excel, okay? So basically here I'm going to, and there is different preference, okay? So basically I try to open different tabs with different information, okay? And it can allow me to move quickly, but it depends of each one preference. So the first tab is usually the dashboard and some basic inputs that we want to move. So in the case of this dashboard, because it's the UK, it's a UK model, here we can see the tax fiscal terms and some features that we can apply for the model, okay? And also some sensitivities we can apply here. On the other side, on the next tab, we have the corporate assumptions. Okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit about these corporate assumptions. Usually, the corporate assumptions are related with the price and also inflation, because we apply inflation in our cost, and depend on also how we treat prices as well. We have to bring here the most accurate information that we have for prices, okay? So in this case, because we are in the North Sea, we apply Brent, and usually we apply Brent with a discount. Because as you have seen in one of the slides, Brent is related with many grades to apply in the formula of many grades. This is in the area of the crude oil. And the assumptions are applied for the price can be from the corporate point of view. But in my case, because I assess resources, I apply my own view as an auditor. So Brent is a crude oil, but then we, because it's North Sea, usually we can see that North Sea, there are many gas fields, and gas fields are related with one specific benchmark, which is the national balance point. It's important to clarify that the national balance point has become a very liquid market, and that's why we assess using specifically national balance point for gas, for self gas. But at the same time, previous to the national balance point, we have seen that gas was related with or indexed to oil price. But it is not the case anymore in many areas in Europe. That's why they are using more these type of prices. In some cases as well, you have to use guidelines from the different market if you are applied for, let's say, the Security Exchange Commission, because your company is registered in the US, you have to apply some guidelines, some regulation, strict regulation. So there are some guidelines to use to assess price. And in this case, there is a regulation for that. So this is about the corporate assumptions, and as well, you can assume inflation, no inflation. It depends of the guidelines and how far you want to see the behavior of these assets. So this is the corporate assumptions, and because we have here some discount, we use a realized price in the discount of well, in this case, we are assuming some discount of the from the Brent. but we have also to understand, let's see, in the case of the NGL, we have faced or have experienced that sometimes it's based on contract and is at discount. And all of these, we have to make sure that are the reflection of what is happening, the most accurate information of what is happening in the asset or what is going to happen if we are talking about or we are in the exploration position. So then we move, what is the input data? So usually this can be in another file, but in this case, I'm going to bring it here. And usually these price are, or these costs are reflected in real terms, okay, money today. So, and we can be as more specific as possible for all the information that we have to put in place for the input data, which are specifically, we talk about production rates or production, the CapEx and OpEx. There is a lot of preference doing this type of these rates as well. And we have to be careful the way we presented rates in the production area. For instance, when we look at profit sharing agreement, we have to be careful if the profit sharing agreement applies daily rates. So daily rates of the actual production. So we have to take into account downtime and the rate of this asset. That's why volumes itself, maybe it's not the most accurate. And sometimes we just divide by 365 and we have the rate. But in the case of profit sharing agreement, this can be an issue. In this, for this case of cash flow, we have prepared 4 cases. The base case is 11 producers, wells, and we have 4 water wells and 3 gas injection to have a total of 7 wells. The idea of this development is based on subsea equipment. It's a FPSO and a one-off buy, and we have an OpEx with an abandonment because we cannot run away of the abandonment cost in the UK, in the North Sea. So, as I say, this is an exercise that we are going to use to apply then later on in Python. So the base case is 11 producers and 7 water or dual injection. The second, we have added, in the second case, we have added workovers. But I have applied the workover in the OpEx, and this can be a discussion as well. Sometimes they move in the CapEx, other in the OpEx, but depends as well of the contract and the fiscal terms, how we can move the workover in the cost. And for the workover, we need, we have 2 workovers. In the other case, we have added workover plus WAC, with a total of 19 wells. And the final one, terrace has been included. And Alejandro will explain a little bit more what are those cases specifically. In this case, we're talking about in total of 27 wells. So here we have the different cases. We have 4 cases. We provide each template for each case in what we call in real terms. So then we move to the following part, which is the cash flow. And in here, I'm going to, I was on high. Yes. Here we have, let me see, because I have on high. Okay. The structure is to have a sequence of process for the cash flow. We have first presented all our data in real terms. Then we move in money of the day. I have to say that I have been done this model vertical, but I usually prepare my models horizontally. But it also as well is a preference. Presenting that, we have what we call, we have the cost escalation. So we have applied the 2%, and that's why we have now MOD prices. Then we move to bring in the production. We have bringing here the production of the different stream. We have oil and we have shale gas, and we have to be careful that we are talking about shale gas and final oil that is going to be sold, and we have to consider shrinkage factors for this. We have the revenue, prices and revenue in this case, and we move what is called the economic limit test, which is applied for PRMS guidelines. I always have used this. You can go to the PRMS guidelines and you can see how the economic limit test is assessed. Another part they have called COP, but COP can be a technical concept. That's why I just always apply the economic limit test. And at the moment the economic limit test is applied, we play with when the ABEX is going to happen. And here is a one-off abandonment. So when we have all this in place, now we can work our pre-tax cash flow. In this case, we can present different ways, and the pre-tax cash flow is an MOD, but then we move what is the decision-making tool, which is the NPV, the net present value, based on the discounted cash flow, which is, we have here different rates of discounted cash flow, which is the investor interest rate for investment. Usually, the normal guidelines for this is using 10% discount rate. I have seen some others that have been using 8% for this type of project. In the cash flow, in the yearly cash flow, there are some issues that we have to consider in the yearly cash flow, which is the way we are discounting our cash flow. So as we can see here, we use something what is called the mid-year cash flow. We can have beginning, mid, and end year cash flow. In this case, we are assuming an average that everything has been happening in the middle of the year, in order to assess this year, the discounted cash flow of that specific year. So, and this has been discounted in January, as of 1st of January. This is on specific issues that is applied in order to be more accurate and to apply specifically in reserve audits, because we need to assess at the 1st of January, or the date is provided. So we have to assess provided that date. And then we move on to the tax calculation. The UK is a tax and royalty and is a license fiscal terms. It's simple, is a tax, corporate tax, and now and is added the supplementary charge, with some investment allowances. So this calculation is based of documents that you have to understand how the tax it applies in the UK. Sometimes some companies have credit and they don't apply the tax at all at the time of the investment. But usually, most of the company, we need to apply the tax. And then after tax, we have to apply the post-tax cash flow and we have to discount it at the similar rate. So any investment has to be past the discount rate at the pre-tax cash flow. Because if it doesn't pass at that time, it's no point to keep going any calculation because it's no investment to be done. Okay, so when we apply a calculation of the tax, we have to be very accurate because this can be a problem in the tax calculation. And then we have the post-tax, as I say, and finally, with all that information, because the discounted cash flow can be used using different rates to discount this cash flow. But also, the cash flow itself can be applied to calculate other KPIs, such as internal rate of return. So in this case, I use another tab to provide some KPIs for each case. So every time I run this case, this tab is going to change. Sometimes you can use it as a data table, and then all the cases are going to run in one way. But data table sometimes is a problem, and it slows down all the Excel file. That's why you have to be careful to move the calculation without using data tables. But remember to apply again full calculation when you do a new movement in the cash flow to have the new number of the data table. So here I was running all the cases. As I said, this is a dummy exercise, and it's just one type of preference to do models. And these provide an idea of how much you have to work to understand the behavior of this type of investment. So overall, we have to this is a model itself, and we have here the KPIs for this model, and this gives you an idea how we can again assess this type of investment. So now, Alejandro, I think with this idea and all in place, how we're going to move all that information and all these features into the Python. So Alejandro, I think I passed